So, recently, Billie Eilish, world-renowned pop star, said this.
Nobody ever says a thing about men's bodies. If you're muscular, cool. If you're not, cool. If you're rail thin, cool. If you have a dad bod, cool. If you're pudgy, love it. Everybody's happy with it. You know why? Because girls are nice. They don't give an F because we see people for who they are.
Now look, lots of people sent me this, massively appreciate it, but before we do get into my thoughts, I think it's only fair to say when it does come to the man-woman divide and body dysmorphia or body shaming, there ain't no two ways about it. The female of the species has had it way worse than the male side from day one. I mean, we're not going to get into that argument, but the truth is the truth. Sometimes you just have to underline the truth. I don't want to take anything away from that, but for the purposes of this video, I just want to throw everybody into one big smorgasbord, which is not the correct vernacular at all, but I've said it now. And essentially, it doesn't matter if you're a man, it doesn't matter if you're a woman, it doesn't matter what kind of gender you identify with. Every single human being walking around right now does get body shamed or body insulted to some level. I get it all the time. I mean, sometimes it comes from a good place or it comes from an innocent place. People will send me a tweet or an X or do a comment on a video, just says, "Oh, Simon, you don't look as big as you used to." Now that is always going to get somebody that does go to the gym and does try and take this stuff seriously, because that is never my goal. My goal is never to look anything but massively jacked. But also, it will absolutely affect your self-esteem. Now, to bring it back to Billie Eilish's comments, I think a reason it is a little bit dangerous to say that is because there are a lot of dudes out there that are walking around with their big bravado and their chest out going, "Oh, nothing affects me. I never suffer from mental health problems," which in itself is a mental health issue because they totally believe as a man, they have to man up. And if they are feeling sad in their tum-tums or they are feeling sad in their brains or their tootsie toes, they shouldn't say anything. That is the worst thing ever. You always have to remember you're not made out of steel. And even if you're somebody that does have quite a thick skin, if you have a bad day or you get some upsetting news, and then somebody does say something about your body, like you look fat or you look thin or you're not looking particularly good right now, you could be sat in your bedroom, as I am right now, and you may be about to go to sleep, and when you check in with your emotions, you realize, that really got to me. And you don't go and talk to somebody about it, well, you're just going to get worse. And we did a whole video about this a good few months ago, I think. And really, nobody should ever be commentating on anybody's bodies because you don't know what someone is going through. Even if they walk into a building, you're like, holy crap, man, you've got yourself into incredible shape. There may be some negativity behind it. Like I used to know someone that used to suffer from anorexia, and before they got down to weight where it was genuinely scary, for a good few months, maybe even a year, they just looked like they were in the best shape of their life. Actually, they were massively struggling with food, but because they didn't reach out and talk to anybody about it, nobody knew. So without wanting to get too off-piece, because I am talking in general terms here, that's why I don't think anybody should be coming out and saying, "Oh, women don't say anything about men's bodies," because they do. But ultimately, I don't even like to break it down into genders. I know that's a whole conversation that does need to be had for many, many reasons, but it comes down to how people feel, once again, in their tum-tum. Because no matter who you are, sometimes you're going to be happy and sometimes you are going to be sad. And if all of a sudden you know that you have been body shamed in some respect, and you do have someone like Billie Eilish, who is a massive deal and has a huge influence, of course she does, saying that doesn't happen, you may scratch your crap beard you're trying to grow and start thinking, "Oh, well, maybe I am wrong, and maybe this is just something I have to deal with." No, it is not. There is also the little nugget as well that nobody actually likes how they look all of the time. Some days you wake up and you think you look okay. Other days you stare in the mirror and you're so upset, what you go and do is you go and eat a bunch of cake and biscuits because you're like, "Oh, what's the point anymore?" We're all going through that kind of roller coaster every single day. And of course, now that social media has become a big thing, you can get into an argument with someone in a thread where they will take a pot shot at you. And if you have one of those days where you are feeling a little bit fat or you're feeling a little bit chubby, it will get to you and it will knock it off your pedestal. But also, let's bring this back round too. Let's say you are, in terms of the definition of a dictionary, a little bit fat, a little bit chubby. Who the flub cares? As long as you're happy and as long as you are healthy, you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want. Like, it's different if people get to crazy obese levels and it is affecting their health. Again, that ties into what we just talked about. Going to the gym doesn't make you a better person, and not going to the gym doesn't make you a worse person. That is just something that you decide to do. Now, there's obvious health benefits from getting in your cardiovascular exercise, and I, for one, am always going to advocate for that because I do think it brings more positivity into your life. It's certainly not the answer, but again, I think it can be a plus point in the tick-check box. This is why you have to stop worrying what other people look like. You just do. And who the hell does anybody think they are to comment on that to begin with? It's just mad. It's just mad. If we did live in a world where you could walk up to someone and go, "You look terrible today," and they go, "Yeah, well, you look like an absolute frog," that'd be totally fine. But we don't, because that ain't how this thing works. This thing is crazy. And while it's basically keeping us alive and allowing us to walk to the shops, it's also causing our demise. And that's why life is totally scary. I mean, we are just on a rock floating through space. So I'm going to imagine that Billie Eilish probably didn't think that through. And actually, from what I've seen of her in interviews, she's a very intellectual person and she makes some damn good music. We're going to talk about modern day pop stars. She's probably my number one. Some of the tunes she released are absolutely crazy. In a good way. I certainly do know about my own struggles that I've gone through with my own body, and yes, sometimes it is women saying these things. Now, once again, I don't actually think there's any depth to the comments they are making. I've just said something I don't agree with, or they're actually going out of their way to try and take a shot. And the easiest thing to say to someone that lifts weights is, well, you look pretty bad, because there must be some sense of worth tied up in my physique. Otherwise, I wouldn't go to the fitness palace of love to begin with. That does come from the men's side as well, which is why I don't really like breaking it down into men versus women, or women versus men, or trans women and trans men, or whatever the hell that it may be. There's the human side, going back to the start of the video here. We all have emotions and we all have feelings, and I'm sure there are some people out there as well that wouldn't even care. You can say whatever you want about their bodies, they would just laugh it off, but if all of a sudden you went after their hair, another sore spot for me, maybe that would bring them crashing down, because we all have triggers, which is the 2023 word, which is why there's nothing wrong being careful around people. That's something you see all the day too. Oh, we're too sensitive. Is that a bad thing? Like, of course there's going to be a line where maybe it is becoming detrimental to your existence. You're allowed to be sensitive. You're allowed to be not sensitive. You just take in your environment and you figure out who you are as an individual, and you deal with it as best you can from there. So mostly, if you are a dude watching this, remember, some people are gonna say mean things about you, and it's okay to be sad about that fact. More importantly, it requires real strength to actually go and open up and say that to somebody else. Like, I'm always amazed when I make these kind of videos. The coolest thing in the comments, like, oh wow, it's so nice to see somebody talking about this stuff. Whereas I suppose in my life, I've got to a point now where I just want to talk about it all the time because it makes me feel better. And it helps me mentally or whatever it may be. So if other people can get to that point, I think that would be Fabu. Once again, let's go back to one of our weird scenarios. I would like to live in a world where you could just say to someone, oh, hey Jack, how you doing? I'm having a bad body day. All right, cool. Thanks for telling me, man. You have to comment on it. It doesn't have to go further from here. Problem shared is usually a problem halved. And soon, like 5-10 years down the line, it wouldn't even be considered a problem. That is just my 2 cents on all of that, because a lot of people did send this to me, mostly over Instagram, cheap plug, at SimonMiller316. And my major takeaway would be, let's just stop commenting on people's bodies unless that conversation has been broke and everybody is happy to have that chat. It's too difficult, man, and it's too crazy. I was having this conversation with someone the other day. Nobody eats one biscuit. On their darkest days, everybody will always eat the whole package. I know there's an idea that some people are the strictest people in the world, and they can be 364 days of the year, but even they crack on that 365th. So don't beat yourself up about it. Just get back on the horse tomorrow. I have no idea why I'm talking about this, but sometimes that's just the way the rants go. Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the bell ding ding notification crew. There will be another video on the screen. I would appreciate it if you could give that a click. Redefining.com/Simon. Just go to Simon to get 10% off. These are the supplements I use. They're very, very good. Patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on Instagram and Twitter. I'm on Cameo at Simon Miller, TikTok at Simon J. Miller. I have merchandise like this ridiculous t-shirt I'm wearing at Pro Wrestling Tees and fitness tees at Samson's, Athletics. Everything is in the description below. But more importantly today, just be nice to yourself. And if someone does say something horrible, process that information, and remember, they probably only said it to begin with because they're struggling and they want to take the world down with it. It's like the Dark Knight. Some men just want to watch the world burn, but flub those guys. Goodbye.